tonight. It's so great to be here with the family. I was gonna sage for you guys as we all come together, but wait a second. Let me find. Where's that sage at? Here it is. Here it is. All that clutter. Oh my God. Anyway, here's some sage. There. Let's let all the negativity go. Let's come back to our center, because today we're going to have someone to show us some really inspirational tips about our clutter. Because did you know that clutter kind of begets depression, or it kind of adds to it? It adds to the anxiety that's going around, and I can feel it right now, so I can't wait. Welcome, Heather. Welcome to the show. So everyone, go out and share this. You might know someone who needs it, I'm sure. And Heather, welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This has been awesome, awesome, awesome. And yes, I was just like, clutter is everywhere. There is no doubt.
That's awesome, Heather. Yes, I can look around my office here where you and I are both parked in corners and nobody can see out. So I can see, like, well, I call it my line of defense there. It's all my little crystals on my shelf, and crystals here, and then there's paper over there, which, oh my God, I don't even want to look at right now.
We're not going to discuss the paper yet.
No, yeah. Tell us how you started this. I mean, well, we all are in the middle of it, or unless you're really super good at keeping your life super in check, and that's another side of this coin. But let's talk about clutter and how you got into decluttering for change.
Yes. So, okay, I just want to put a note to what you were saying, that, you've got everything organized, here's the thing. Life happens to all of us every once in a while. And just because you are nice and organized this year or this month doesn't mean in about a month or so, some life-changing event happens where all of a sudden you have the clutter, whether it's the mental, emotional, spiritual, or the physical, the ones that we can see right away. So how I got into this was many, many, many years ago. I split from my ex, and I was a general manager at the time, and it was not working for my schedule for my kids. So I ended up actually quitting that job and getting a job with a cleaning company that I forget how many months later, or not even a year later, they ended up actually firing me because the schedule that I originally was hired with, they said no longer worked for them. And I was like, what? What do you mean fired? I was like, I've never been fired. I was like, and let alone it's not fired because I was not a good cleaner, not because, no. It was just because my schedule no longer worked for them. I was like, what the heck? So my girlfriend had actually convinced me to do my own cleaning company. I was like, I know nothing about this. She's like, yeah, but you clean and you're really good at it. And you weirdly like cleaning. She's like, that's odd. And I'm like, well, I like it. I don't know. So yeah, so I was like, all right, let's see. So I ended up actually starting a cleaning company back in, I want to say 2016, 15? One of those years. I don't know. It's all the way back there. But yeah, so I started, and while I was doing the cleaning company, I was also going through family court. And it's amazing how cleaning allowed me to process all of the stuff that I was going through. So as I cleaned, as I cleared off the counters, and this wasn't even my stuff. This was other people's stuff. Like, this was the houses I'd go into, and I'd clean and I'd vacuum and I'd do that. But it was a way for me to process the mental and the emotional stuff that I was going through. And here's the funny part too, which brings me to this, which is why I actually included the spiritual stuff moving forward. But as I was cleaning the houses and going through all this stuff, I started to see dimes. And I thought, oh, okay, these are just clients putting like, oh, I'm going to put underneath this little, like, soap dish just to make sure this cleaner is actually cleaning what she did. But here's the thing. It started to get because that was around the same time that I was starting to get into the spiritual, because I wasn't spiritual. I was very, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. It has to be right in front of me kind of thing. And I was very pig-headed, I guess we could call it.
Closed off?
What was that?
Closed off?
There we go. We'll call it closed off. There we go. And yeah, so.
Like my cupboard.
Yes. There we go. Exactly. yeah, so doing all this with the cleaning company, with all that stuff, and allowing me to, okay, these dimes are coming. And I'm talking like when I finally really paid attention, I'm talking like I was doing a move out. So there was not a thing in the house, but I found a dime. And I'm like, okay, there's something more to this. So I was like, all right, so I read up on it, started talking to people and everything like that. And it became something that I was like, okay, there's something more to this. The cleaning, the why I'm able to do this and why I'm able to process this better and why, yes, I'm angry about this, but I'm able to whatever. So I was like, okay, let's look more into this. So as I kept cleaning, I kept the business and stuff like that. I ended up actually shutting the business down in 2018 just because my little car that I had at the time didn't do a whole lot. But I'd already come online because I was like, okay, I need something that still works with my kid's schedule, but I need to expand this. There needs to be something. So I came online probably about in 2016, 2017, through a whole bunch of trial and error of things that I was like, okay, what can I do? And then all of a sudden, again, people are like, well, why don't you bring the cleaning online? Like, well, okay, but how can I guess I could teach people how to clean, like what to look for, what supplies. And I'm like, no, there's something more to this. And then it became, well, what about the decluttering part? Organizing. So it started organizing because I added that with my cleaning company. And then I was like, no. Every client that I had or every person that I was talking to, I'm like, you don't have a problem with the organizing. It's before you get to the organizing that people have a problem with, that people stop. And that's why they never get to the organizing part, because it's the letting go. It's the overwhelm that clutter does cause everyone. It's the, where do I even start? So that's when I was like, okay, that's where it comes. So I actually started it off. The name of the company was called Home and Office Detox. And then just about 2-3 years ago now, just before the pandemic, I'll just say that, which that was 3 years ago. Oh my goodness. I realized, I was like, no, it's declutter for change. Like that's why clutter shows up. It's because the new version, the old version meeting up, it's the change that's happening. That's where the clutter shows up, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical. And that's when the change is happening. You're going through those changes, whether it's a new baby, a new home, a new job, a new company, you've just lost your job, whether you've got to move, whatever the case be, it's a change. So yeah, you've got to declutter for change. And here we are today.
So you found it actually changed your mood, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Just decluttering.
And here's the thing, it can go on a like absolute whirlwind of moods too, because there is many, and it is all normal. It is all part of the process. That's why I say, and I like, part of my thing is now just embrace that chaos, because it's coming. There is chaos in between, but you can go from like sad and upset to happy to angry to whatever, like the that emotional wheel. You end up going through every single one of those emotions while you're decluttering, and that's normal. That is absolutely normal.
And do you have any hard and fast rules for decluttering? Like I remember reading Sarah Barnhart's, I think, Simple Gifts. I think, and she said if you haven't worn it in 2 years, throw it out or give it away or do something with it.
Yeah, so I have a few, and they're not, I wouldn't call them hard, but I would say like one of my biggest things is 1 in, 1 out. So if you want to go and buy something, let's say it's a dress. Well, when you go buy that one dress, go back in your closet and what one dress can you get rid of? Or what one shirt can you get rid of? Or what pair of pants? Like it's usually, and like I said, it's not a hard rule. It depends, because there's been many times where my children have had many things go out before we've even brought anything in because of the fact that they grow out of their stuff very quickly and stuff like that. But for the most part, that is like 1 in, 1 out. Like if I want to know, well, my plants, I will say the plants is the one part where I don't usually abide by that rule.
Are you a plant hoarder?
I wouldn't call a hoarder yet, but my daughter would say I'm getting there for sure. But yeah, like it's that. And then also don't do it by yourself. Always buddy up, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's you bring somebody else over and you guys declutter a room in your house and then you go over to your friend's house and you do one in their house. Because I find that when you're with somebody, it's easier to go through those moments and it keeps you on track more when you know that there's somebody else there. When you're by yourself and you're doing this, 10 minutes can feel like 10 minutes to you, or it can feel like 2 hours because you just went into one little box and then all of a sudden you look and you're like, I haven't done anything. And another thing I usually do as well, especially with the clients, is actually, and this is something that I actually used to do, which I'm thinking of getting back into probably in 2024, is we used to do sessions, decluttering sessions. So what we would do is we'd join, just like we're, here right now with everyone. And I'd be like, okay, what is everyone working on? What is the one thing you're going to work on this 45-minute session?
Oh.
And sometimes it was just a box. Okay, cool. Some people are like, oh, I'll get the closet. I said, no, a closet in 45 minutes. That's being a little, whatever. I'm like, just do a shelf on that closet. Okay. We'll see how far in those 45 minutes you can get by decluttering that one shelf. Then we take a 15-minute break. We talk about it. Okay. What happened? What's going on? Like, did you find stuff that you need to put aside for later, and then you'll deal with that later? Because sometimes when we do declutter, we find things that are very emotionally attached to. And I say, leave those to the end. Leave those to later at least. Like, don't try and declutter those things that have the emotional attachment right away, because then it becomes overwhelming beyond belief. Do the things that are neutral. So if it's like just newspapers or like whatever, just do things normal, like neutral and stuff like that. And and then after that, making sure, like when you've gotten to the habit of it, so like you do the 45 minutes, you do the break for 15, and you do that for 2-3 hours. We did it one day, it would be 2 hours, and then the longer version was 3 hours. And you'd be amazed at how much stuff everyone got done, knowing that there's a timer, knowing that there's other people that are doing it with you. And it was great. It was awesome. Like there's been.
So you have a group Zoom?
There was, so I haven't done it based on, obviously, like I said, before we started the show, just in court again, like right now. So I haven't done any part of the business lately just because I've taken a break from it. But come 2024 and stuff like that, and later on in this year, I do plan, like 2024 is when I plan to bring these back, because they were great. Like it was a membership that I had that this is what we did. We did online, we met up, we got to know other people that were in the same boat as, I've got a cluttered closet. Yay, so do I. I've got a closet and a junk drawer. All right.
There's shame to it too, right? That's why we hide it in places, right?
Yep. And that's the thing. And knowing that there's other people that have the same feelings as you, and knowing that, so I'm really not the only one. Wow. That brings a whole new level to, okay, so this is normal because I just went through this major change, because of, okay. So it dampens that shame, and it's like, no, there's nothing to be shameful. This is what happens. Even us as experts, even Marie Kondo, actually, that's the funniest one. Her whole, thing was, the spark joy or whatever. Well, now that she's had kids, she's like, ooh, I'm a little more lenient towards it. Because
kids change everything, right?
Everything, but life changes. That's a big change. As soon as a big life event happens, it changes you. And it's normal for those things. And like I said, it's the old version meeting up with the new version. So the old version, which was a single female, whatever, I'm just going to use a mom or a dad, single female or male. And now you're a mom and a dad. That's a whole new identity you are now going into. Like that's one of the biggest change. Or moving houses. You going from let's say a smaller house to a bigger house, or a bigger house to a smaller house. You're changing your address. You're changing the way you live. You're changing the people around you, your neighbors and stuff like that. That again is a big change. So it's okay when the clutter shows up. It's a matter of, what are you going to do when it does? Are you going to embrace it and do something about it? Or are you going to fight it and let it take over your life?
Can you define what clutter is?
Anything that gets in the way of where you want to go in life, basically. So it can be the mental clutter. So it's as you're driving down, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. You're thinking, I have to get the groceries. I have to did I do this? Did I do that? And then you're supposed to be focused on driving. So it's the thoughts getting in the way of you driving safely to your destination. That's the mental clutter. That could be also whether or not you're driving, whether it's you're trying to get a task done for work. Oh, I have to get that. Oh, crap. I forgot to do the laundry. Oh, I need to, when I get home, I have to do this. It's that mental clutter. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be focused at a task at work or whatever. The emotional part is, well, I have a good story for the emotional part, which I caught on. As soon as it happened, I was like, oh, really? So I was doing a cleaning for a client back in the day, and I know I was so my car had broken down right before I got to that client's, and I had to call the client to tow me to his place, this, that, whatever. And I got it fixed by the time I got there and boosted and everything. So I was already emotional for that. I already knew that was the beginning of the end of the business because of the fact that I was like, okay, my car, this is not the first time this has happened. I said, what am I going to do? If I'm not doing this, what am I doing? So I had all that mental part of that, but the emotional part was, okay, this was my baby. Like, I was good at cleaning. Like, I had good, solid clients for the entire time I was there. Like, you started with me, you ended with me for many of my clients. And it was very emotional or whatever. So I went to go put my hair back, had my hair tied around my wrist, went to go put my hair back, pulled on it, and it snapped. And man, did I feel the emotional, like, ready to cry. I was like, over a broken hair tie?
Oh, wow.
But I sat there and I went, you know why? You know what this actually was about. This was because of all of the emotions I was bottling up beforehand, not dealing with them, not whatever. And I just kept pushing them down. No. I got too much things to do, too many things. So I bottled up. And the hair tie was the explosion. It had
you were stuffing them into your brain clutter drawer. Like your brain,
your clutter, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was saying, nope, I don't need to deal with this right now. I don't have time to deal with my emotions. I don't have time to deal with my mental clutter. I've got to keep going. And then when my hair tie broke and I was going to cry over it, which I'm not a crier, or I wasn't anyways. Now I've become more of a crier, but that's neither here nor there. But
it's how you declutter your fan.
Yeah, exactly. It's decluttering. But that's the thing. Crying is decluttering that energy, getting that energy out as well. I didn't accept that back in the day, but now I'm like, cry all you want, kids. Cry all you want, Heather. Like, you know, you're moving that energy. You know that that's part of the decluttering. You're allowing your body to do that. But like I said, I wasn't before until my body said, too bad, you're going to now have to deal with this. And that's what happens with clutter. When we suppress our emotions, when we suppress the mental part, where we don't do our mind dumps for the mental clutter and stuff like that of what's on our mind and stuff like that, when we don't actually sit with our emotions, we don't, sit in the quiet and go, okay, what are these emotions that are upsetting me? If you don't pay attention to the spiritual side of it, trust me, you get hit with about 83 dimes in a matter of 4 to 6 months.
Where do you think the dimes are coming from?
I haven't had them lately. That's the thing. Like, every once in a while I'll get one, but yeah, it was 83 dimes in a matter of, I think it was like 5 months. I wonder if it was a grandparent of mine, because around that time as well, I found out later. So I don't talk to my dad's side of the family, but dad's mother, who was somebody that I was close with as a child and whatever, I think that was around the same time she had passed. So I wonder I wonder if it was my grandparents on my mom's side. Like, it was one of those things where I didn't have full clarification of who it was, but I just figure, I was like, it was one of those things of, hey, pay attention. Pay attention. Oh, you're not going to pay attention to me? Okay, here's something you're really going to have to. And so, yeah, and that's what the clutter is. When you don't clear out the clutter and you just let it build up, whether it's the mental, emotional, the spiritual, the physical, it'll continue to build up until something happens where you have no choice but to deal with the clutter.
Gina was saying her dad always leaves coins too.
Yeah. It was actually pretty cool because, like I said, that was the beginning of my, oh, okay, so I don't actually have to see it. It becomes a belief. And I remember testing the universe. I remember even testing.
Oh, they love testing. They love testing. Angels love testing. Yeah.
It was great because I remember I was like, all right, if I'm supposed to do ABC, send me a dime today, by the end of today. I gave it a deadline, a time, like let's say 7 p.m. So I waited. No dime, whatever. I was like, all right, cool. Whatever. But I said, okay, If I'm not supposed to do X, the ABC, then send me a dime by the end of the day. Cool. Waited. I was like, all right, cool. That didn't happen. Well, don't I pick my daughter up from from kindergarten that year, and she's playing with something. And she's like, oh, Mom, here, this is for you, and hands me a dime. That was, I was like, and I remember, like, as soon as she gave it to me, I just did one of these, like, all right.
And she knew it was for you.
Yeah, and that's what she said. This is for you. And I remember one of my girlfriends, so I told my girlfriend this, and her daughters and stuff like that were playing around and stuff like that. And when her one middle daughter, I remember, also did similar things. She's like, oh yeah, so I hear this is for you. And she hands me a dime too. And my girlfriend watched as she handed it to me. And I looked at my girlfriend. I'm like, did you tell her? She's like, absolutely not. She's like, Claire, who told you? And she's like, oh, nobody. Don't worry about it. And walked off. I was like, all right. So yeah, so needless to say, that was very much the beginning.
Now I got spirit guns all over me. Yeah.
And it was cool because, again, I wasn't paying attention to the subtle hints beforehand. I wasn't paying attention. And then it was like, you need something physical. Here you go. Like, you're telling me that you need this physical item? Cool. And that's again with the clutter. When the mental part of it happens, like let's just go start with the mental part. When you keep having that clutter there and you don't do anything about it, like I was saying, suggesting the mind dumps. And if you don't know what a mind dump is, I'm going to actually explain. It's basically just taking, I usually say, an hour to 2. Usually it ends up being 2 to 2.5, depending on what you have. But you sit down and you literally write every single thought that you could possibly have up in your head on a piece of paper. And I always say pen to paper, because it is just much, like, there's a connection, the physical connection, pen to paper, to the thoughts coming down out and stuff like that. And I'm talking like every single thought that comes out, put it on paper. That's what a mind dump is. So when you don't do those and you just allow the mental clutter to keep going, you're going to have the anxiety. You're going to have the depression. You're going to, like, those are things that follow through with the mental and the emotional parts, because that's just the connection between those and not doing something about it. Well, depression, we know, is thinking about too much about the past. Anxiety is thinking, too much about, like, having, anxious thoughts about the future and stuff like that. But when we sit in the now, which is what's in front of you, what's in your mind today, right now, put it on a piece of paper. What's in your heart? What emotions are you feeling right now? Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Right now. Let's figure out and clear that, because guess what? Once you clear that, the next one comes up. And when you clear that, the next one comes up. And you're allowing yourself to continually have that cycle, so that when these big events do happen, like my hair tie, if I hadn't already been researching all of this and doing, I probably would have had that mental breakdown or that emotional breakdown. But because I was like, oh, you know what this is. Yeah, you know what this is. All right. And it became very much, and I still, years later, talk about it, because it became such a pivotal moment for me to go, look at the work you've done. Look at how much work you've done on yourself, that you understood and you realized what that it was and what that meant. So, and that's where I help people, is to understand, yeah, clutter is going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. So let's empower yourself to clear out the stuff. So when these big events happen, you're not in a position where you're so overwhelmed that you can't do anything about it. That you're so overwhelmed that you go into those mental breakdowns. That you're so overwhelmed that you cry every second and every moment. So, yeah.
Big time.
So I want to ask Teresa. Teresa, where's the most cluttered part of your house?
Me. It's me. It's me. My most cluttered part, because I try to keep it evenly cluttered. Probably my table and my altar, which is also a table. So, and the kitchen. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I keep it pretty much everywhere.
So with that, now I have a question. Why do you think those are the areas that you have the most clutter?
Because I jump around too much. Okay, I'm like, I'll clean for 10 minutes here, and then that'll take me to another part of the room. And then while I'm there, I'll forget and start cleaning in there. And then that'll take me somewhere else to put something away. And then while I'm there, I'll so I just keep making all my little rounds, never finishing a darn thing. And in the meantime, those thoughts, I was like, oh wow, was I just talking to Ascended Master Sarah? And I'm like having all these spiritual experiences while I'm doing all these things. And by the end of the day, it's like, oh dang, I'll be better.
Okay, so
tomorrow.
here's a suggestion that I'm going to give you for homework. Yes, I give homework, ladies and gentlemen. Is try and time yourself. Next time you want to, and that's another thing I always say is don't try and declutter when you're in a crappy mood, when you're like, I don't want to do this. Find a time and a moment, whether you have to pre-schedule it or whatever, and declutter when you're in a decent mood. You don't have to be the happiest, you don't have to be whatever, but just in a decent mood. And time yourself. Do a Pomodoro. It's called Pomodoro session, and time yourself. Do it for you don't even have to do it for 45 to start. You can do it for 25 minutes. Take that 5-minute break and go, did I finish where I started?
I used to try to burn an incense, but I guess they don't really like us doing that in the apartment here.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I would burn incense to keep my mind focused on, I got to stay in that room because I can't leave the incense burning. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I would try different things, and then I have music. When I'm serious cleaning, I'll get out the music. And
oh yeah, absolutely. Some people do music. I sometimes do music, but then there's other times where I need it silent. Yeah. But yeah, time yourself. Like I just, and that's one of the things that I just, because subconsciously, you're being timed, even though you're the one timing yourself. But then it also gives you that quick break of when you hear the timer go off, you go, oh wait, okay, I actually moved on to, because I do that too. Trust me. Oh my goodness, how many times I go from from the kitchen to the bathroom to this to that, and I'm like, wait a second. I was like, let's go back to where I started, because that's why I like personally the timer, because it gives you that accountability to yourself to go back to where you were, finish that task, and go to the next one, start the timer again for the next one. Oh, you went to the third and fourth one? Oh, let's go back to that second one, finish that one. So that's personally why I like the timer. And that's why, trust me, on all, like when I did the membership, that was a big thing that people would do. I was like, all right, how did you do with, and this is why I always told them before we started, what are you working on for this particular time? Oh, I'm working on this. So when we get back and we start talking again, I'm like, did you finish this? I'm going to go use that on the next one, I guess. Because again, it's the accountability. And that's why I say do it with other people, because then you can do the same thing. You can do even just if it's the two of you. I actually used to do it too with my wife friend. So she's from the States and I was whatever. And we didn't do Zoom at the time. We just would call each other. And we're like, okay, so we mute each other. And then we come back. Okay, Did you get it done? Yeah, I did. Did you? I kind of got squirreled.
Squirrel. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, it's a great one. Squirrel. So do you find that people collect clutter in their houses in the same spaces? Like, do you find that? Or does everybody have a space in their house where they just collect clutter? Or
I find generally it depends on what's going on with their life too. So here's the thing. So I have found, I call it the spectrum of clutter. So there are the people that are hoarders, and you obviously know that they have tons of clutter. So they're going through a lot of mental, emotional, spiritual, like they're going through some stuff. And then I find that there's the opposite end of the so neat freaks that can't even have a speck of dust, can't do whatever, but they also are going through things too internally, but they do not want to show the external world how much is actually in them. So what I say is we want to go in kind of in between. We want to go into, there's a green zone in between those two, where it's like, okay, yeah, I have clutter, and I usually see that it's a bedroom, because the bedroom is always the last thing, because nobody goes and sees my bedroom. Well, you do. You go to bed and you wake up, and that's the first thing you see is your bedroom cluttered. So that's usually like one of the first spots I usually say, like, hey, let's make it so that you can rest at night. And when you wake up, you're not immediately seeing clutter. Even if it's not consciously that you're seeing the clutter, your subconscious walks by that, sees it, does it, whatever. And it's constantly on your mind, subconsciously or consciously. And so, yeah, so bedrooms are usually a big one. A junk drawer or junk closet or junk room. Some people have a whole entire room with junk, like, you know, where it's that catch-all. So that's another big one where it's like, okay, yeah, but I might need tape, but I also might need a straw, but I also might need, you know, something else to do with, you know, a tool, whatever. And it becomes the junk drawer where it's the catch-all, it's the everything, it's the might need it someday, but not really. Oh, I have a receipt, I'm just going to shove it in the junk drawer, but never actually approach it. So I see that there's a question here, so I'm going to read that out. Heather, I inherited a lot of sterling silver. I'm feeling all right about selling. Mom's and my jewelry is next. Any suggestions? Okay, so like suggestions on where to sell, or are we asking suggestions on like how to deal with the emotions that are going to come through and the mental part of that is going to come through, and knowing and preparing yourself that that's going to be something, because obviously things that if you inherited it, it means that somebody has obviously either passed away or they've handed it down to you. It's something that you're like you said, you're like, I'm okay selling it, but like, is it a how do I sell it? Is it a where do I sell it? There's plenty of places. Like I know I did it on my show on the Breakthrough Network. I did one. What was it called? I think it was like the 3rd episode or something. It was dated in May, where it was basically, okay, so I've decluttered this stuff. Now what? And I basically went over like different things. So you've got like, I know here in Canada, we've got Kijiji. So I don't know what it's in the States or across the world or whatever, but there's the online stuff of selling your stuff. And especially sterling silver, actually look for a dealer or somebody, like actually look, if you're going to, and this is where I'm just answering based on different things because I'm going to wait for her if she's, you know, going to say like,
she said both.
Yeah, so continue. So yeah, so going online, like you said, with the sterling silver or any precious metals and stuff like that, look for a dealer or an antique or anybody to appraise it if you need it appraised. Because some is, hey, by the way, this is a 1 in 200 that were made. This is much worth much more than if you just sold it on Kijiji for like $100 type of thing. So you want to make sure if it's those precious metal type of things to get it appraised and find your local appraiser and stuff like that. And then from there, you can also do it where there's obviously Facebook Marketplace. There's all those things to sell. Honestly, there's just so many options nowadays to sell things online. But again, obviously, make sure that you do not do any transactions without being face-to-face or whatever, because there's a lot of people that would like to take advantage of people selling things online. So just make sure, put a caution in there. But best bet is probably finding someone that actually, this is like the actual sterling silver, the jewelry, the precious metals, that is their thing, because they're going to be able to tell you, yes, here's what you should be asking for. Here's what I would resell it for. Here's what I would buy it from. Hey, some of them might even buy it from you. And there you go. You've just given yourself a safety. Yes, understand for sure. But, and then how to deal with letting go of that stuff is allowing yourself to feel whatever it is. If you feel guilty, feel the guilt. If you feel happy that you're now clearing this stuff out, if you feel anxious about it, whatever, feel those feelings. Allow yourself to feel them, because if we don't, again, like I was saying earlier, they're just going to continue to pack down and to whatever, that something so unrelated later on is going to happen. But it's the emotions from this sterling silver or giving away your mom's stuff or your stuff, whatever. You didn't deal with the emotions currently. So you're going to, I'm just going to pack them down. Well, a month from now, they can come up in such an odd, weird way that you're like, what was that all about? You're not going to understand because whatever, but maybe you're going to understand now because I've let you know. But it's those things, like allow yourself to feel. This is probably one of the biggest things we don't do, is allow us to feel whatever we feel about the clutter. Do you feel shame? Cool. Feel shame. But then release it. You feel guilty? Cool. Feel guilty. But then release it. Allow yourself to be like, okay, so what? You got yourself to this point. So what? Your entire bedroom is cluttered right now. There's ways of dealing with it. And there's ways of, handling it and allowing yourself to declutter it. Even all the hoarders who have had their house filled upon filled upon filled, they have the experts come in and they have all that stuff. They have ways of also moving through it. There are steps that you can take. There are emotions that, that person's going to feel and stuff like that. And they are allowed to feel them. So why aren't you giving yourself permission to feel those feels?
Yeah. And that bringing up hoarders is something that I thought about. I often watch hoarders to make myself feel better.
You're not the first person that I've heard say that. So yes,
it's just like, yeah. And and I realized that clutter is like stagnating energy in my home from a feng shui or feng shui or whatever you say it, a way of life. I can never say that word properly and everybody always corrects me. So I just think like, yeah. So now what I try to do is like what you said, coming in, out. I look at the mail right away. Like, sure, put that in I have a recycling box at the end of my counter. All the junk mail goes in there. I'm not going to use it. Like, what am I kidding myself for? I'm not even going to read that. Just put it away. I know there's stacks of stuff. Whereas my husband, he has a stack of mail. And I said, would you please go through your mail and throw out what you don't want? And he puts everything back in the envelope. I go, why? Why are you putting it back in the envelope?
It's like, why do you do that? And again, it's certain things. It's just like, why do you keep this versus not keeping that? Like even with kids, with adults, with, elderly and stuff, it's like, why is this keeping? So that brings a good point too, is there are times, now I'm not saying this is your husband's thing, but there are times we keep things not because of the item itself, but because of the emotional memory that item brings us. Right. So let's say it's, a picture or a picture frame or whatever the case be. We're keeping that because of a past loved one gave us this thing. It doesn't fit my decor, but I just, I feel guilty if I get rid of it. And it's like, okay, but are you giving it its worth? So like we're talking, like you were saying about feng shui or whatever, everything has the energy. So if you're shoving that picture frame in the back of your closet, what kind of energy are you giving that memory? What kind of energy are you giving that person that gave it to you? And it's okay to give it away to somebody who is going to enjoy it and display it and have it out and, whatever. It's okay to not have these things if you're not going to use it for its purpose. That's one of the biggest things. And that's why we feel guilty is A, because somebody gave it to us, or B, because we spent so much money on it. Yeah. Again, feel the guilt, understand it's going to come, but then understand that, is the guilt serving me? Is me keeping this item serving me for what I'm going, like where I'm going in life? Like if I keep pushing it back into the closet, if I keep packing it and moving and then packing it and moving and putting it in the back of a cupboard or whatever, what is the point of me having it? Whereas somebody else, if I do give it away, they go, oh, I've been looking for this. This was a part of like the collection I wanted, and they display it.
True.
And they give it the energy, a different energy in that household. It allows the energy to leave your home. You say, thank you for, whoever gave it to me, or, that at that time I spent the money on it and I release the guilt, I release all that stuff and everything like that. Cool. And okay. So, and
she said there is so much stagnant energy in not making decisions. Mom's clothes. Sit until my heart was ready to let it go. And finally, I was ready to let it go, and it felt wonderful.
Yep. And that's it. And that's what I say. Like that. So those things that we have, those emotional attachments, that's what I said earlier, give yourself some okay time to not deal with it right away. Because what I say is get into the habit of decluttering, of getting into that mental and emotional, the physical part of actually decluttering, so that you can get those mental parts and the emotional parts coming through, and you understand, okay, I was warned this was going to happen. This is all normal. Okay, now I think I can go do that thing that I know I'm going to be emotional for. I now can go look at that and go, what is this really doing and serving? Is the energy of this giving my life better purpose? Or is it holding me back because of all the guilt that I feel, because of all the pain that I feel from that memory of this item? Or, you know, how much money I spent because I'm no longer in that great job that I had because I got fired from it. And now, you know, I spent so much money on that, but then I'm not using it. So I now have added guilt on top of the guilt that I already felt. So it's holding off on doing those emotional things until you've gotten into the habit and you understand, and you're understanding that when I clear the physical stuff, the emotional and mental and spiritual stuff is going to come through. Like there's no ifs, ands, buts. There's never been a time where I have not experienced it myself or anybody I've helped has not experienced it. But it's allowing yourself to, okay, cool. I understand this is going to happen. Heather warned me. Heather also said that whatever I feel is exactly what I'm supposed to feel at the time. I can go sit with this. If I need to meditate, if I need to step back and just go allow myself, shut the cupboard, shut the door, shut the drawer, whatever, and just take a breather, take that 5-minute extra of my break, take the moment that I need, and then go back to it. Because again, it's that, okay, if you have found something, like I know somebody, one of the people I was helping, they found something to do with their past divorce. So that you could see the anger. Whoa, the anger that came from that. And I was like, whoa, let's stop for a second. And I pulled them aside privately, like it was in the group thing. And I pulled them, I said, okay, what did you just find? And they're like, oh, you noticed that, eh? I said, no, your body told me. You didn't have to tell me. Your body told me. And it was like, yeah, I just found this. And the anger of it was just because of how much wasted time, how much wasted money on all the lawyers and all of this. I said, okay, so why do you have that? I said, how long ago was that? Oh, that was, okay. Could you put that in a, you know, okay, if it's obviously a legal document and stuff like that, do you still need to have it? Yes. Okay, cool. Could you put it away somewhere and honor it and, you know, sage it if you need to, like spiritual wise, whatever, sage it. Cause obviously we want to get rid of that negative energy. And could you give yourself permission to understand you did everything at that time exactly how you were supposed to do it? You felt everything. You were doing everything. You were whatever. And then it was like, and the tears just started rolling down. I said, there we go. There we go. Let those emotions keep coming. Just keep them coming. And she's like, holy crap. I could not imagine. She's like, if I found this by myself, if I did, and this is again why I say find somebody, because they'll notice your reactions and stuff like that. But she's like, if I did this by myself, I would not have been able to get past this. I would not have been able to understand that everything I just felt was normal. I would have felt guilty for doing that. I would have felt guilty for pausing. I would have felt guilty that I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to throw everything in the garbage. I was like, yeah, that's another feeling that is very, very normal, is just wanting to take a match to everything. I mean, people have told me, they're like, can I just take a match to this all? I was like, the police say no, so probably not.
That's awesome. You've given me so many aha moments, like why I saved all my kids' crap from school. And I'm thinking, why did I save all my kids' crap from school? They don't really care about it. Like, they want to keep a few pieces, but I know why now. Because my parents, I was the middle, third from the bottom, second from the top, didn't have time to save one thing. Didn't even really care. Oh, who cares? We had no pictures on our refrigerator at home. Mom would not allow that. It was just like clean freak. And so, yeah, like, oh, that's nice. So I'm thinking, well, my parents never cared, so I'm going to over care for my kids on their behalf. And I'm thinking, oh, now I can just, give them one bin each, and then I'll decide whether they want to take them next time they're visiting, which they'll say, oh, are you kidding? That'll cost me $30 to ship it back out on the airplane. Yeah, no way.
And that's the thing, like, and the generational parts of it is very, very true, because then there's other people that their parents would, like, my mom used to do this. Oh my God, it just drove me crazy, because I was like, why would you do this? I don't talk to my mom anymore. So, but anyways, but it was one of those things where I would have a desk, and I was a typical kid. Like, I wasn't the neatest kid or whatever. My mom was very neat for, like, she was the opposite. Like, you know how I was saying, like, there's the hoarders and then there's the opposite. Don't show anybody what's actually going on, but there's a whole lot going on. That was my mom. Didn't show everything had to be prim and proper, whatever. So when my desk was not up to her standard, she would take her whole entire arm and just wipe everything off the desk, and it'd end up on the floor. And I'd look at her, and of course, I was the rebellious child. I'm not going to deny that. I'd look at her. I'm like, did that help? Like, what did that do? It's now even more of a mess. And I'm going to leave that. And oh yeah. And then we got to get a fight. But there's other parents that they would go into their, and this is why I always say, do it with the child, never do it without the child, because you'll never understood what you would have thrown out that the child will always remember. Exactly. And as an adult will continue to, So anytime if you have children or even a spouse or a partner or anything like that, do not be the one to throw their stuff out. You want to do it together and say, hey, let's do this, whatever. Because especially with kids, I knew somebody that their parents, when they would go away to school, all of a sudden their entire room and toys and this and whatever was in the garbage and tossed away and whatever. So as a child, they weren't allowed to keep anything. So as an adult, they kept everything. And then it's like, okay, again, it's that emotional and the mental stuff that we bring forward. And that's where the physical stuff, and that's where it's like, oh, because emotionally I was wrecked as a child because I never got to like all my favorite toys, all my favorite whatever. So as an adult, well, now I have a choice and I get to choose to keep it all. But now we're going on like which spectrum, like we got to have the equal, okay, yes, you do have a choice now. You do get to keep, but you also have a choice of letting go of that memory of, okay, yes, that happened. I can't change what happened in the past, but what I can do is something about right now. And right now I get to choose to keep this stuff or to not keep it. Am I keeping it just because of spite? Or am I keeping it because I actually want it? When we keep things out of spite, trust me, that's not good energy to keep in your home. This timing in alignment with you sharing the motivation is so on point with the new moon. I so appreciate you sharing these deeper understandings as I and so many others are moving through. Yeah, and that, I kid you not. So actually, Jessica, which is our host of the Breakthrough Show Network and stuff like that, I actually used to be on her group during the balsamic moon to do decluttering with her group, because of the fact that during the balsamic moon and it's a matter of releasing and all that stuff. And that was the time. And to get ready for the new moon, the new beginnings and stuff like that, what better way than to clear out the old to make room for the new? Because again, you can't bring stuff in without removing stuff. So
you'd think I almost planned it, but I didn't. I will just say it was the gods of this guardian angel of spirit sessions that just brought you in for this perfect day. Thank you so much so can people still get a hold of you, and how can they get a hold of you? And tell us about your show, what date and time and stuff like that.
So my show on this network, the Breakthrough Show Network, is every first and third Wednesday of the month. So my next one isn't going to be until September 6th, which, by the way, is my birthday. Just putting that out there.
Oh, happy Virgo birthday. Yay. My sisters are both Virgos.
So that's when my show is. And then you can get a hold of me at heather@declutterforchange.com. That is the best way to get a hold of me. I still read all of my emails. I still get emails. I still get all that. And then that's also my website as well as declutterforchange.com. So.
Okay, that's awesome. We look forward to when you have your groups in next year, you say, once you've got your life decluttered again and everything's, because it's important not to let it all build up. Like if you have too much going on, you can't put any energy into what you need to. It's like too scattered, right? So you want to be focused on what you have. So just focus that one jump drawer.
Always temporary. Like me allowing myself to just focus on this, it was temporary. I knew it was temporary. I knew I was always going to come back to this. And now that I'm, getting to that point where I'm like, okay, cool. Yep. No, this is happening. I said, we're closing in on the one chapter and we're going to open a whole new, brand new book. So yes, 2024 is definitely going to look much different than 2023 for sure.
That's awesome. Teresa, you got any last minute thingies? Oh, I didn't. I'll have to go do some.
I did, but I don't know if they're so important.
Go ahead.
The slowest little thing I want to say is sometimes when I do have everything completed and clean, I mean, it's rare, but it happens, I actually fall into a depression afterward. A post-depression? I mean, what is that?
That is the emotional and mental. So when we physically clear our space, we're allowing that stuff to come through.
Okay.
So that is very normal. And you have to understand that the depression and all that, again, as I was saying, depression is a past. So what in your past is allowing are you allowing into your right now? Okay, what is it? What, like, and I'm not asking you to answer right now, but it's just okay, so I just clean. I am clean. I am good. I'm whatever. It's like, okay, usually I say, okay, did something happen in, usually I say childhood or teenage or whatever, when you were younger, when everything was prim and proper and good? Were you looking for recognition and you never got it? Were you looking for that praise or whatever? Or were you told it wasn't good enough? And so therefore that part of us comes through and it becomes your body will remember before your brain ever will.
That's so cool. I love it. Another question I had, it's kind of like the three questions we have at the end. My question is there good crystals for helping to clean, or a crystal grid one can set up, or you know what I mean? Something.
Ooh, I wish I was better with crystals. Okay, so I'm going to say citrine, because I know that one. I do love that one's one of my, because it gives that energy. Right. It's an energetic one. So find any crystals that are energetic, and also at the same time, grounding crystals. So like your smoky quartz and stuff like that, because you want to stay grounded, because you are, like I said, when you do the physical decluttering, which you're actually going to make me want to like research more about this, by the way. And then I'm going to actually.
There you go. Like there's a new topic for a show on Wednesday.
You just gave me homework. That's perfect. But yeah, I would say something that's grounding or energetic, or depending on what you're wanting. So let's say it is, okay, you started decluttering, you're doing all the, like the regular stuff, all the papers, this, that, nothing that's emotional. I'm going to say when you get to those emotional things, maybe your pink
rose quartz.
There you go. That's the word. I was about to call it pink quartz. I'm like, that's not the name of it. But yes, rose quartz, which is very heart-centered, very like, okay, giving you that healing part and stuff like that. Yeah. So maybe rose quartz when you're doing those emotional sides of it. So you have that energy to support you as you're going through these motions. So yeah, this is going to be a good list that I'll give you.
I love that. I've heard also green apatite. Aquamarine. Sorry, getting all my colors mixed up. Aquamarine is another one that you keep in dishes, and that's supposed to help you get rid of clutter, or maybe you can make more stones there to be the clutter a bit prettier. I don't know. but that one's supposed to be a good one. And then I think also like green fluorite, because fluorite's kind of a pathing stone in a way, leading you to where you need to go. And the green being a crisp, clean, healing kind of energy. Those
perfect.
Again, heart-centered, heart processing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I just want to put aside that you can't have too many crystals, and they're never clutter. So just saying on my own behalf that that's true, whether it is or not.
It's like, I don't care if you agree with me or not. This is what I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying. They'll never be clutter. I'll get rid of stacks of papers, but I won't get rid of my crystals. So, and all my kids' artwork, I don't care anymore. Have you got another question for her? Because we never propped her for the questions.
We didn't prompt. Oh, well, this is good. We got a really hard, two more hard questions for you.
Perfect. Bring them on.
It's three. One, what is your personal favorite one, Crystal, right now? Or what's helping you the most as you're going through all this?
Amethyst. I would say that amethyst is definitely, and probably the reason why it's my favorite right now is because it was one of my first crystals I was given by somebody.
So that's so special.
That's a beautiful crystal. I'm wearing it today, by the way.
Oh,
amethyst. I'm wearing an amethyst today.
Now this next question is a little bit of a change. Now, professionally or all that, and now you're called on to walk out on stage, and you're giving a whole declutter thing to a whole group of people there, but they're playing your song as you walk out to that stage. You know, it's giving you confidence and woo, yeah, let's do this. What song is it?
Oh, it's so funny because as you were saying that, I'm like, the song Another One Bites the Dust.
That's awesome. I can see you walking out to your TED Talk for that one. Oh, Heather.
Well, because look, another item bites the dust. Yeah. Another mental clutter bites the dust. Like, yeah, that was funny. I was like, I don't know why that came through, but another one bites the dust.
I love it. And the last question then is, yes or no or whatever, or maybe there's a story, but have you ever had any extra dimensional contact or seen anything like, a UFO?
UFOs.
Or I'll take a Sasquatch story or anything. Have anything
well, it's not
interesting?
a Sasquatch story,
Okay.
but it definitely was. So when I was younger, I would say, because I remember exactly the house, I can visually, well, I don't actually see it in my head like some people do. Like I've asked Jessica, I'm like, you actually see the item in your head? But anyways, I know because it was based on past. But where I was, it was a spiritual parts. I'm going to say it was very spiritual. It was, I remember having, like, I used to work on my like coffee table at my mom's place and stuff like that. And I remember I was looking for my eraser. I'm like, where's my eraser? I'm like, okay. So I grabbed my eraser, I erased or whatever. And then I put it back on the table. And then I heard it and then drop. And I'm like, So I picked it up, put it back on. And then I just sat there and I watched it. And again, it moved and it dropped. And I was like, all right, cool. And then around that same time, it did that a couple times and then it just stopped. I was like, all right, cool. And I remember hearing a knock at the front door. And this was right after, like, not right after, but it was soon after my grandmother had passed. Heard a knock on the door. And it was, I swear, her image, but in a very foggy type of, like, honestly, I thought I was dreaming. I swear to you, I was like, okay, that had to have been a dream. And I'm like, nope, you're awake. All right. What are you doing with this? So yeah, so those are my two main ones that I can absolutely remember, and I will forever remember just based on the fact that I was like, okay, yeah.
That's cool. But you can't see that picture in your head right now.
No, I can't. I forget what it's called. But there's a name for the fact that I don't actually see, like when we talk about the whole red apple thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't see a red apple.
Yeah, some people
unless
don't.
I've already, like, I can see or I can know. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to know what it is because I've already seen it. But if you're going to tell me something that I've never experienced, that I've never seen in my life, and you're like, okay, think about that. I'm like, I was like,
right
up there.
Okay. Yeah. I just thought everybody did.
It.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No.
Awesome. Like, so when you read books, you don't see the pictures. Like it's not a movie going through your head. Oh God, you're another one.
It is great. Like aphantasia or something it's called or something.
Oh, I don't know. How neat is that? It's interesting that you can understand. Yeah, I just wonder how people. Yeah, they don't have.
For me, it's the knowing. It's that's called clairaudience. No,
claircognizance.
Oh, no, claircognizance. Yeah.
There's just certain things where I'm like, no, I just like. Well, how do you know? I'm like, I don't know how I know. This is just. There is not a stitch of a red color in my brain.
Okay,
I just know what an apple could be. So I know, okay, I've eaten an apple before, so I can visualize that based on my past experience. But if I've never done it, like when athletes like, oh, absolutely can see exactly how they can, I'm like, if I didn't do it before, I can't exactly see what I'm doing.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it drives me crazy that I can't, but I hear so many people that can like identify it as if you can touch it in your, I'm like, nope, unless I've done it, I can't.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, thank you so much for being on. And remember, it'll be September 6th, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Is that right?
10 a.m. Yes, sorry, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Eastern it'll be Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, I was going to say Eastern Daylight Time, yeah.
I'll just put Eastern. So, 10 a.m. on the Breakthrough Network show. And you can find that on the YouTube or on the Facebook page as well. So just like us, you can find us there every week. Anything else, Teresa, before we go? Oh, I have a winner for watching, sharing last week and commenting or whatever you did. It would be Lauren Rose Weisencore. So Lauren Rose will try and get in touch with you. I'm going to have to try and see if I can get a hold of you or not. But it might be hard. So she's an angel guide person. So hopefully I can get in touch with her. Thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you so much for having me.
It was cool. And we look forward to meeting you again because, Christmas is coming and that's a great time to have a holiday.
Well, we got back to school. We got Christmas. We got holidays. Absolutely. Every day is an opportunity, right?
Every day. Yeah. Make it an everyday habit to just throw that stuff in. No, I shouldn't even say like just put it away even. And then you can go deal with the drawer later. Thanks so much. Thanks, Lauren. I'm going to take us out. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next week.